Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, figure junkies of all ages. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with a Figure Junkie, NorCal Voodoo. I am sitting this evening with a fellow collector, customizer, and just awesome human being all around. Many of you know him as Uncle Clutch of Lady Spartan Customs. Matt, thank you for sitting in with me again, trying to get this session done for the second/third time.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it sounds like we got it on point. So,
sounds much better this time. So, as always, right in from the jump. As a fellow figurehead and collector and toy enthusiast, what did you play with as a child? What was your go-to figure?
So, very early starting out, I grew up in a military neighborhood because my father was in the Navy full time. And from as long as I can remember, I lived in Navy housing. And a lot of the kids would get together and you play one of two things. Either we would play with figures, which would either be plastic army men until we graduated up to probably Star Wars. And I'm going to throw a left field one out there, Crystar, and a few other figure lines. They were like the see-through guys. I got a few of those. If I had had my skills now, I would have probably spray painted them into like regular dudes. But Star Wars was real big right when I was coming up as a kid. And then the other thing we would play is we would play war, and we would go out and play guns in the woods. And military housing usually backed up against a really big set of woods. And this was back when they just pushed the kid out the door and were like, hey, they'll be okay. They're in a group, and we usually were.
Yeah.
Unless some kid got hurt or something. And I had a really interesting group of friends, one of which was a very knowledgeable guy who actually did a lot of reading and would tell us, okay, this is going to be, this is Hanoi and this is the DMZ and all. And we had these parts of the woods all labeled. And yeah, I think I talked about it in another podcast, but like we even dug a few punji pits and like sharpened some sticks and put them under dirty cardboard. And people are like, you were doing that? And I'm like, yeah, well, we just didn't want, the enemy to sneak up on us. I don't know if anybody ever fell in those things, hope they didn't. But so those were the two main things that kind of drove me, like always that military, like, fighting type, which is ironic because I went in the military, I guess. So I didn't really have much drive for anything else. But yeah, so it was 82 when the first line of Joe's came out, and I was a middle class kid. My father worked in the Navy. My mom stay at home mom, and I was watching TV before school because we had a little bit of time before the bus rolled up, and I saw the first Joe commercial with the live children actors, which was one of the other brilliant things they did, pushing the toys around. And I was just like, oh my God, like, look at that. Like, they're not Star Wars people, they're actual military people. And that guy's got, bullet belts, and they got beards, and that guy's got a motorcycle with a Gatling gun on the side. And I was like, holy smokes, like, Mom, get in here. And I think I screamed for my mom, and she came running in like, what? And I was like, oh no, I'm okay, but like we got to go to the store, and she's like, you got to go to school, buddy. And so I think we went that day when I got back. We had a store up in and interestingly enough, I didn't even tell you this on the last one, but I grew up in Rhode Island where a lot of the Hasbro stuff was being made back in the day.
Okay.
So I was right in the backyard of G.I. Joe, and we went to a department store called Zayre's, and it was just a short distance from the house, and it was just still when they stacked up the toys to the ceiling, and as a little kid, you're just like, oh, like I've hit the mother load here, like put one of everything in this basket. My mom's got money to burn. I don't know if she did or not, but so yeah, that's kind of where it all started for me. And then, of course, the Sunbow show and the Marvel comic, because I could walk to the drugstore near our house and buy my own comics with money I made, doing little chores and allowance. That fueled, again, more toy needs, more wants. I always needed the new guys coming out, which is exactly their plan. They got us. So
it honestly, in was it 50 years, ballpark, that shit hasn't changed. It's no longer marketing towards the kids in this line. It's now marketing the adults, because we're the ones buying and playing and collecting and doing all this stuff now, much like we were, back in the late 70s, early 80s. Started out similar myself. My first stepdad was in the Navy. Started out in Northern California, went to Southern California in San Diego. And like it was prior to that, hanging out in the woods, running around with a group of us. We out at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, wouldn't come back till 9, 10 o'clock at night. It was much different back then. Can't do that shit now.
Yeah.
So playing with the tan and green army men, and then upgraded a little bit more to the old school Kenner Star Wars figures. But that was quickly replaced for me for the 3 3/4 inch GI Joes. Love those. And I ran with those until pardon my language, up until Ninja Turtles. Like when Ninja Turtles came out, like that was it. Like I obsessed over those and GI Joes. Much more GI Joes later in life as well with the new lines. You mentioned you were in the military service. Obviously, for those who are watching now and don't know you outside of this, you've been in several different forms of the military service. You want to go into that real quick?
Yeah, some would say I'm a glutton for punishment. So I actually, at a very early age, decided I was not going to follow my father's footsteps into the Navy. Although my dad did have a very highly decorated career, he actually was in well before he met my mom and I came along. He did serve 2 active tours in Korea and 2 active tours in Vietnam, where he had, active duty service ribbons from there. He was shipboard for Korea, and he was on a PBR, which is a patrol river boat, Mekong Delta type stuff, ferrying the likes of what I ended up later being in special operations. But he would tell me stories about the SEALs and tell me stories about the Marines. And when I was first born, he trained amphibious at the amphibious school in Norfolk. So, we had SEALs and Marines come to our house that this was back in the 80s when like families would feed military guys who were single. That was just like a good family thing where they're like, these guys don't have a mom and dad or a girlfriend right now. And he'd bring like 6 or 8 guys in. And I was just like, these guys are like my Joes, but like they're big and scary. I want to be like them.
Yeah.
And I realized that I wanted to be a Marine, was the first branch I went into. And I was taken in by the first recruiting poster I saw, where it was like the guy's face is all camoed up. He's got the droplets of water, the rope across him. Is a classic Marine pose. I had one on my wall, and it was a reconnaissance Marine. And it was, then they came out with the whole like, guy fighting the dragon. I mean, they just were like the whole, every movie. And I didn't tell you this when we talked before, but I was very highly influenced by a movie. Many people were, a lot of people said they joined the SEALs after the Charlie Sheen movie. A lot of people wanted to become pilots after Top Gun. I was highly influenced by the movie Heartbreak Ridge with Clint Eastwood, which
fuck yeah, man, love that movie.
I wore that VHS tape out, and before Lady Spartan came along, and I was courting some young lass, I actually invited all of my male friends over to her house and like kind of put her on hold so we could watch it again. And she was just like, what is wrong with these people? Like I'm right here. And I was like, yeah, but we got to watch. I was like, we got a mission tomorrow. We got to watch this. And Gunny Highway was my idol. I at the time wanted to join the military, and just become an old salt gunny, be in, reconnaissance and much like, many things in life. The best laid plans often go awry. And
Always.
so, yeah, I joined the Marine Corps, and I did very well in my ASVABs, even though I was not a really good student. I did not care for school. I didn't care for being lectured at 7 hours a day. I was there to socialize. I was there to use the gym equipment, and I was there to talk to girls, and that was about it. And they gave me the long list of things I could do. I asked for infantry repeatedly until they finally just said, okay, he's not going to do anything else. But my father promptly called me a gravel crusher and bullet stopper when I came home. Said, so you're going to be a bullet stopper. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So that's what Navy guys would refer to us jarheads as. And I went into the Marine Corps, and they basically said, we have a program where you can be a security forces Marine, and we have a thing called FAST, which was Fleet Anti-Terrorism Security Teams. And I thought, I shot that hand up in the air. I was like, you got me at the marketing. Like, I don't even know what's going to happen, but I want to be a part of it, and that was a lot more schooling and training. And ironically enough, I got assigned to Norfolk Naval Air Station, where I was born. So that was my first tour in the military.
Dude, that's awesome.
That tour was cut short about 3 years into my 4-year tour. I was home on leave, and I forgot to say, like, I met Lady Spartan when I was in high school. She came to visit, and was visiting her brother who was in the Navy on my dad's
Okay.
Navy base. And we met at the McDonald's where I had once worked and she was working. And you don't hear a Southern accent in a Rhode Island McDonald's very often. And some might call it a siren song to the rocks.
Oh,
So I went over there to talk to a girl for a friend of mine, and I actually ended up staying there an hour and talking to her instead. And I made my friend drive me back through the drive-through and kept asking her out until she said yes. And kind of upped and down a little bit there, but I persevered and hung in there. And right after basic training in the Marine Corps boot camp, we got married. So she has been with me in my life since then, and she's been through, as you said, several things. So Marine Corps, Army Rangers, law enforcement, and my current career, which is production supervision and leadership, which is sometimes weekends, evenings, depending on the shifts I've had to work. So I tell people she's put up with a lot of shit and maintained a really, really big heart and a really good sense of humor through all of it. And I tell people, if you're not going to adapt in your life of being with someone else, you're not going to make it. The person I am now is not even the person I was 10 years ago. Forget when I was a kid and I met her. So those things all changed me. I tell people, laughingly, I got a very particular set of skills from the military, but, most of the time they don't do much except get me in the door somewhere. People hear what I did for jobs and they're like, oh, well, we want to talk to him about hiring him. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me see if I can impress you,
Yeah. Well, I mentioned this in the last session we did, and I'm going to say it again now. Thank you again for your time and your service with us. I have nothing but respect for any man or woman, person that puts their life in danger for both country and their comrades. I started out, of course, on a Navy base in San Diego with my stepfather. So I grew up around that my entire life. And for the longest time, my plan was Navy as well. But as I got older and started growing and shooting up and out, height and weight, respiratory and lung issues kind of detoured all of that. Best laid plans and whatnot just didn't work out that way for me. My son, the moment he graduated, of course, he took very little convincing. He took to it like a fish in water and, of course, went into the military. And again, absolutely love all of our servicemen and women. I think it's fantastic. So thank you.
I will tell you too, a lot of people, they wonder like, what is the motivation for a lot of people to do that? Because you're not going to get rich doing it. And there are a lot of, hazards and things, even in peacetime. But I'll tell you, I've always explained it like this. And I think it's probably the best way that I can articulate it is I signed up to do something to protect other people. And it's a group of people that either can't, won't, or don't know how to protect themselves. So in your case, like, you physically could not join. So you would be one of those people that's an American that I'm like, okay, well, this is part of my country. My mom's a little too old to take up arms and I don't want her to. Some people, they have the right in this country to say, I don't want to do that. And I still want to talk shit about the government. And I'm fine with that. Like, I don't agree with a lot of people, even in our hobby, with some of their thoughts and feelings, but I tell them I'm loyal to the backbone of this country to the point of I've taken 4 oaths, and that's what my bullets here are for. My spent shell casings on my arm. People are like, are those for kills? And I'm like, no, that's whack. I would not. I was like, those are for every job that I've sworn an oath and carried a gun, which is 4 times in my life. And I mark those spent shell casings because it reminds me of, sacrifices that were made. But I tell people, like, those were for everybody. Like, I didn't get to clock in and say, I don't like this group of people, so I'm only going to defend it. Like, it doesn't work that way. It's everybody. It doesn't. And if Chinese start parachuting into the United States, we're going to have a 5th time, because that's just how I'm built. I always say, like, well, I'm not going to get involved. And if I saw a police officer getting the tar beat out of him, I'm probably going to get involved, because I'm just me. Like, some people are just like, maybe I'm stupid. There's a fine line between bravery and stupidity. And I've walked that line a lot of times in my life. And, by the grace of God, I'm still here. So, I've got all my issued pieces with me. I've taken some battering here and there, but, there's a lot of veterans who come out in way worse shape than me. A lot of people are dealing with a lot of things. And that's something I do agree with a lot of people on in our government, kind of left turning a little bit. I do feel like we should take care of people better here in the U.S. before other places. I do think we have a lot of reform here in the U.S. And I agree with a lot of younger people on that. When I encounter people in their 20s and 30s and they've got, good ideals, I'm like, hey, you're who I signed up for. And when I go to Fort Benning and I go to Ranger graduations or an infantry graduation, if I live close enough, it renews my faith in young humanity. It lets me know like I can get old and be okay, because we're still going to have young people who raise their hand and say, I'll go.
Yeah. No, I get that. To your point about the viewpoints and the political stuff, I can understand and appreciate somebody having their viewpoint. I totally do. I can understand and I can appreciate us disagreeing on those viewpoints. I totally do. We do not have to agree on points A, B, and C. We do need to agree on the fact that we're all allowed to have those points, and we're all allowed to express those points peacefully, freely, without beating each other up or tearing each other down because we feel differently. That's something that I think that a lot of people, not just in the toy collector community, but in our country, being so diverse and so different on beliefs, that we forget that it's okay to disagree. In fact, that's how things change, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But it's all progress. And until we as a whole understand that, it's always going to be bumpy, unfortunately. I like seeing, in regards to the toy stuff, which is what I want to redirect to, the post and the photos and the toy activists, that as some of them call it. It's funny. It is hilarious at times, whether you're on one side or the other. I do appreciate the artwork, even if I don't agree with all of it. It's interesting to see. I think some of it is a bit out there. Like a lot of folks, they're the never would, don't know how, wouldn't do anything in the event that if they themselves are ever in those situations.
Right.
I started out in California. I grew up in the South, man. I was fucking skeet shooting by the time I was 7. Like, I'm very familiar with a rifle. I can handle myself accordingly. A lot of cats today don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, but they talk a big game. And it's sad. It really is. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Sorry, all of that got way off.
That's all right.
After military life, because I assume that you weren't collecting or playing with toys while you were doing the real life version of A Real American Hero Part 2. What got you back into it? What was the thing that drew you back into action figures?
So, I would say after military, I told you I did some time in law enforcement. And again, that's kind of a, high tension, a lot of time, low pay. So once I kind of got into like commercial work where I had more disposable income, more time to get into, what's happening out there in the world besides, just what's on my daily plan for today, like more leisure time here, more leisure money in the wallet. That's where I probably started. And I actually, for a short time, did get into action figure collecting. Well before the Joe stuff, I was into some Marvel, some DC, some Spawn stuff, got a big old collection when we had some spare room. And then one day just got a wild hair in my ass and sold everything to a buyer of collections. And then we got a house after that, so it would have been the perfect time to save all that stuff to put in a spare room. But we did have a child at the time, so that takes up time and money as well. And that again kind of took me off the trail, right? Child rearing, career work, husbandry, and then as my child got older and kind of went off to do her thing, and my wife is a career woman. So Lady Spartan's not my wife, but was my wife, now my girlfriend. So that's an interesting story there.
Yeah, it was kind of, I was confused when you first mentioned that to me. Like,
I say it out of habit. She's kind of just gotten used to it now. We kind of are, live like that. But we kind of, I always tell people, sometimes you have to blow up a bad bridge to build a new one. You can't keep slapping beams on an old bridge and hope it will get better structurally. And, I can tell you that the time I've lived and been married, I know enough to write a book with what I've done, what I've been through, and I probably need to. Lady Spartan's always harassing me to do it. And I think it's a book a lot of men would read and they would tell no one they bought it, if you kind of know what I mean like that. But it's like I'm gonna get this, but I'm not gonna tell my friends I read it, and be
Right.
like, oh, this guy is writing to my life. Like I've done that, I've felt that. I don't want to talk to my friend about that. But I feel like we as men, we don't communicate well, which is one thing I like about the Josephs. At least I'm communicating with men about something, and that
Right.
opens the door to other things. But to go back to it, so then I started seeing stuff come out with the early classified stuff, and I was like, I recognize those guys. Like those are, and they're bigger. And I was like, that's
Mhm.
cool. Like I could see more detail, like pick this up and kind of, roll it around my hands a little bit, maybe venture out and buy two or three. But then like the futuristic thing kind of was like, I was like, what is this roadblock is holding? This isn't a 50 cal. I don't know what this is. And then I was like, why has Duke got these weird shin pads on? He doesn't need those. His shins are made of steel. He can
Oh,
he can run through anything. And I was just like, Snake Eyes looks okay. I was like, they didn't goof him up. I was like, all right,
yeah.
I'm okay with that. And then I saw a couple of Cobras come out. And I was like, okay, they're okay. Cobra Commander looks legit. He's always been a little bit of a fancy guy. So I was like, but then I kind of was like, I don't know if I want to like start getting into this. It's not the Joes I grew up with, and I kind of like held back. I think I told you when we talked before, I gave a few of those away.
Oh, yeah.
But then it started coming back hard. I told you, I said, I think a lot of collectors just put pressure in the right places. They were in the know, they knew the right people, and things started taking a hell of a good left turn. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna get back on board because I'm starting to see characters that look just like what I remember. And where are they gonna go with this? How far are they gonna go with this? And now it's years later, and I know where they're going.
I'm I was I've mentioned this in previous iterations. Not may even mention it on our last session that didn't end well due to audio issues. I started out with the notion that I was going to try my hand at figure photography and stop motion pictures.
Right.
And the first thing I had at the time in abundance was Star Wars Black Series, which have again look nice, but they're horrible articulation when you're trying to pose and get all the movements and everything done. So at the time, like I had just seen some months prior the advertisement for the 00 Snake Eyes, who I thought looked beautiful, fantastic. Still love that figure. Wasn't able to get it. Still not getting it because it's way too expensive on the secondary market. Fuck that.
Yeah.
But at the time, like it was towards the end of June, my birthday, and the wife and I were going to town, which is like an hour out. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to hit the toy aisle just to see what's there. And I came across Black Series with the sci-fi looking first wave of G.I. Joes and then the counterparts for Cobra. I bought like 8 fucking figures all at once. It was a whole
They
slew of
got you.
birthday money. Hook, line, and sinker, brother. Like I was in the deep end right from the jump. And like, even though I was not crazy about that sci-fi look to it, like, I still have those figures. I have all of them. I still have them all up here. There, I haven't gotten any of. Well, I take it back. I did get one of the redecos, Roadblock, but I still have the previous iterations. I think they look great. I like how they pivoted myself. I like how now you have the classified, updated version. You get your retro versions. You get your legacy stuff, and as of the announcement, yesterday, day before yesterday, we're getting some of the era, a Real American Hero cartoon figures,
Right.
with the fluffy, and then the No Place Like Springfield 2-pack. I'm looking forward to all of it, which kind of all parlays into the next portion, which is customizing. If you're not crazy about the figure, you can buy it and you can still break it down and use it for customizing. What got you into the customizing portion of it?
I think when I started building, I guess what I would call a small collection, then getting like goals, right? Like I want to have a small squad of Cobras. I want to have, certain Joes that I remember that were favorites. Why won't they make them? And then, like you said, I kind of started goofing around on the internet for the early people who were doing it. And I was like, okay, I can try this. I can dabble in this. I got a little spare room. I can get a few tools. And it was just really crude at first. I just some things I'm just like, oh man, that was rough. And then of course, you know, Gridiron came on scene very early with kits to help make those figures that they didn't have. Like, oh, you don't have a hit and run? Well, we've got a hit and run kit. All you need is a dude with some camo on his face, and you know, we get you there. You don't have to paint the goggles red. We're going to do that for you too. The only thing there was, you know, buying kits from there plus figures to make, and you know, if you break something of theirs, you just broke a serious amount of money, you know. And I was like, okay, there's got to be a better way. So I started sourcing from other figures and saying, okay, you know. And then once you make a few that like fit the bill of who you wanted, that was a legitimate character, like I made a Flash because I didn't have a Flash, and then I was like, well, you know, what if I just want to make a couple of extra Cobras that look different? Like, what if I want a Cobra that's a big guy like Roadblock, and instead of Roadblock's head, I put, you know, a masked, you know, Cobra head on him, and you know, some goggles so you can't see the. And I was like, okay, yeah, so I need to get one of those early version Roadblocks that's like, you know, cheap right now on Amazon or whatever. So, and just started building the coffers of stuff, you know, like goods that I would, because you know, and 3D printing was still kind of on the way up at that point. And I've had people tell me like, oh, you know, you can print this stuff for pennies on the dollar. For me, part of the fun is seeing a figure and I'm looking at it and I just look at what am I going to take off of it. And I kind of have a formula I use. If it's, you know, $20 or less, and I can get 3 or more things off of it, even if it's the head, the wrist wraps, and the boots, like that to me is a win, because that's a head sculpt right there. And I have people I can pay for head sculpt, but they're not going to give it to me for 10 or 15 or $20. Plus I got to pay to ship it and tax or whatever else. So for me, I am always like, I'll see something and I'll be like, okay, I really want that guy because he's just cool. Like that would, like, I have to say Hasbro for me, I've really enjoyed all the Dreadnoks that have come out. I don't really have a lot of criticisms. Now, I did make my own Ripper comic book style. I made my own Buzzer where it looks like he's at the end of a long career with the beard and the shirt's different. And
I like that.
You know, thank you. And I made my own Torch where it made it more safety, where he's got gear that would not burn. I've seen, you know, someone using a flame throwing unit, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna burn up wearing denim and leather, buddy. So, you know, I've made some things like that, but still have my classic ones. And I'm like, okay, these are great, but we need other guys. Like, we need to expand this. And then, of course, the Energon universe and some other things showed like there are other Dreadnoks. There's other guys out there. So I think like probably, you know, Dookie and I are probably the two that are leading the charge on Dreadnoks, and maybe like Savage, Lonzo, and a few other people are doing some Dreadnoks and other stuff. But I'd say Dookie and I probably are like together could put together, like we could feel the Dreadnok army pretty quickly. You know, where it would rival most Joes.
Dookie's got so many. It's not even funny. Like I love getting those updates on our phones, like while we're
We froze again.
all right. Looks like I had technical difficulty. Glad you're back.
Gotcha.
You were mentioning you and Dookie doing all the Dreadnoks. Yeah, the updates. So all the stuff that Dookie has put out on Knot County, both the website, his channel for Outhouse Customs, dude, they're fucking insane. Like all the builds are great. His theme that he's running with making it a biker club and doing clubs and affiliates is fantastic. Those bikes, dude, all of them are insane, man. I think they're dope. I just finished doing my own Dreadnoks Louisiana chapter for my own toy box. Mm-hmm. I've got to get bikes now. I've got to get vehicles done, and I've got to reach out to him sometime in the next month or so to see if he can do a commission for me. Because I know he's just going to continue to get busy because people are loving all the shit that he's doing. And of course, you as well with all the builds you've been doing. I've been seeing them on Instagram and I've been seeing them on Facebook. And of course, you send me pictures of what you're doing, and it's all awesome, dude. It's fucking fantastic.
I think you got to get at least one bike from him, but then that kind of might ruin you for other bikes. And
I'm good.
I have
long-term.
I have a few like where I'm like, these other bikes here are just for my lesser members, you know. But I've got like, you know, the high range guys have got the good bikes. But I am really curious to see where he's going to be a year from now, because with and even Lady Spartan says, like, you know, she loves his dioramas, and she loves the fact that, like, he comes from the point of view of being a former club member and rider. You know, he doesn't talk about it a lot, but he's actually former military as well. He did a whole career, and I know he doesn't mind me spreading that business because it's not top secret or anything. But so him and I share that. We share that bond. We text usually a few times a week. I check on him. I send him stuff. He'll be like, "How'd you do that? That looks dope." Or he'll shoot me something crazy like, "Hey, I just tried this," and, you know, we'll share like kind of you know, methods and everything. And I like that his guys are very they follow like a very strong arc of like what he comes from. And I tend to do the ones that are like your outlandish dreadnought, like when I did the guy with the snowboard, you know, powder keg, like he's snowboarding down and he's chucking grenades at people. He's a former snow serpent who just didn't want to follow rules. You know, that's pretty wild. That's some shit you'd see in like a Sunbow cartoon, right? Like, who's that guy coming?
That's
dreadnought powder keg. You know, he's causing an avalanche with his grenades, you know, and then he's like not in the show for like 6 weeks. You know, he's like, he comes in and he's out. Because they'd have those tertiary characters, so I kind of like to build those because it gives me complete freedom. But yeah, I think that, you know, him and I both share a love of dreadnoughts. I know he'll probably stop by the table and get some pictures with me, and we're going to have a lot of dreadnoughts, some Joes and some Cobras. I do tend to lean more towards the bad guys, so it probably goes in order of dreadnoughts, Cobras, Joes, and then I like to throw females into the mix because I don't think enough people are doing female customs. So.
No, they're not. I have, so in my room that I'm in front of me on the other side of the camera, I've got on the far left, we've got Joes, and then we've got Legends, and then Black Series, and on the far right, it's Cobras over by the doorway. So the top shelf for the Cobras is just your command structure. Your face guys, and then the second set would be all your other face characters, not command. And then third is all troop builders, all your your masked or faceless figures. I've got so many fucking figures packed in on the Cobra side that it dwarfs the Black Series and the Legend side, which are all full as well. But like, it's ridiculous. Of course, on the bottom, it's all dreadnoughts, which are awesome. Can't get enough of them. And to your point, no, there's not enough females. There's not enough females on the Joe side. There's not enough females on the Cobra side or dreadnoughts, even though now we have 2. There's not enough females in action figures. And the ones we do get, they're overly sexualized. I'm not saying that it doesn't have its place, but we can stand to dial it back a bit, in my own opinion.
No, I agree with you. I see the guys that do the ones with like the supersized busts, and I'm like, you know, you can give her more of a rump maybe, and, you know, tone that. I look at it as, is she going to be combat effective? Like, right?
I mean, those flotation devices will come in handy in the Navy. Like,
we throw her in the water, yeah, you know. But
yeah, no, that is something that, as a comic book fan, I've been used to seeing that for 20, 30 years. Of my 44 years of existence, comic books are always done to the extreme. I would appreciate a little more realistic touch on some of it. Granted, it's all fantasy, I know.
Right.
But I would like to see that done that way more so, because I think I don't want to get political, but I think it's a bit more inclusive when it comes to getting female viewers involved in the hobby. I know a ton of women that are into action figures. I know a ton of women that are into comic books and movies. They like dressing up and doing all this cosplay stuff as much as the guys do. The downside is that everything is either your ass is hanging out of your pants or your boobs are popping out of your top, and it's just a bit much. And as a father, I don't want my little girl to see that shit. I mean, she's grown now, but I still didn't want to see that stuff. And I would prefer a happier balance. I would like to see more females in the figure. Long story short, I'd like to see more females in the line.
The other thing with that too is also some diversity with that. For me, like I said, like sometimes I want to throw some different faces in, and I saw like Valaverse, they just released they're doing the Black Series. They dropped this Lieutenant Hayun, female Asian, and I just thought, okay, she doesn't really have much of an expression. I'm not going to probably get that. But what I would have loved, since they re-released Pandora, is re-release Kill Switch. That chick had personality. That she had short hair. She was dark skinned. She had an angry face. She had a serious face. She was a sniper. I love the backstory. And I'm like, I tried to make one, and I realized with the female Valverse figures, the arms don't interchange like they do on the men. So I ended up breaking a figure. But I was just trying to reproduce her with the kit head, and I was like, I mean, give me that. Or how about a Hispanic chick? We got Sidewinder, and it took forever for him to pop up. I just was like, we need something. We need to round out some things instead of just like the same few faces. I mean, the 60th anniversary sniper looks like Scarlett's little sister.
Yeah, she does. I passed on her initially, and then I picked up like a fucking box full of them at Ollie's for $12.99. So that's how I stockpiled those, and I did
good gear in there. Good gear. I'm not knocking the gear. It's like an accessory pack. Which, by the way, when are they going to do accessory packs? Because those were pure gold when we were kids, and they just won't do one.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'll come to the factory and pack it for you if you want, but we can do this. It's not hard.
I think Hasbro should do that. They should go the route that Vala does in this extent, like Gridiron does with all these other third party, where they have these smaller packs where you can get heads, you can get guns, you can get gear, or for those who haven't seen it yet, they did the Vala panel at DFW, and Bobby shared that he has, for $19.99, he has the background characters, so you could get torsos of 3 different varieties. You can get legs and boots of 3 different varieties. He's got a head pack that has like 13 or 15. I apologize on the number. Don't quote me on that. But he has a handful of heads. And each pack is $20. All fucking day, bud. Like, you buy multiples of sets, and you've got like 30 different figures that are all different, and they're all unique. That's great business right there, because you're catering to your customizers, and you're catering to the other ones who buy multiple of the same figure, and you make one minor change, you got a whole new dude or female if they do females. Right. I'm all for it. I can't wait for see all that stuff. All that, of course, was announced, and if you haven't seen it, and to the people watching along, if you haven't seen it, do check out both Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. All that stuff, I'm sure, is going to be ad nauseum over the next couple of days. This is filming on Sunday, by the way. This will be airing tomorrow on the 1st. Going to push this super early because I want to get this out.
So we're going to kind of dovetail on that idea for Joe Fest, actually, for background characters and troop builders. So besides the customs that will be on the table, which will be basically on display with tent cards, telling who they are and what their price is, there'll be 3 price points for customs. It's on top secret. They're going to be 35, 50, and 75. Some figures, I know what I put into them, and I just want someone to buy almost like what they would get a regular figure for and be like, you know what, I don't have that. I could maybe do it, but I don't want to. Sure, give me 1 or 2. Then there's the ones where I've totally painted, sculpted, acquired something for it. It's going to be a little higher price point. But we're going to have a box of basically $10 action figures that are conglomerates of different body parts, different heads, different backpacks and things, so that someone can pick it up and say, I like him as is. It's a steal for $10. Or I'm going to build something with this and take it apart as soon as I get home.
Nice. Dude, that's awesome.
And like, I was putting something together the other night. Lady Spartan was out with a friend, and I took a bazooka body, gave him a flak vest, took all the color off of his shirt, and put a venom head on him, and gave him a battle axe and a machine gun. So I mean, that right there, you're getting a bazooka body for $10 plus some cool. And I almost was like, oh man, he's kind of cool. Maybe I should keep him. That's the danger, right? Like, you're like, I'm going to put him over here. Maybe you're not ready to go yet, but yeah, most of them are going.
You put the time and effort into building something out of nothing, and then when you're done with it, you're realizing, oh shit, this isn't staying in my collection. This is going to so and so. Fuck, yeah. I'm gonna have to remake him so I can put him in my collection. I've done that twice now. I have 2 of my buddies, 2 of my best friends on this planet that I met through action figures, through chats, not too dissimilar from this situation. One is my buddy Jamie, and the other is my buddy Brian. Both of which who do figuring it out a podcast with friends and figures. Sorry, I got too many hats. They all start to run together. So I made a military unit called Black Trident, and it was essentially piecing together bags and bags of body fodder, weapons, head sculpts. One of which I think you even contributed to after you and I first started talking. You sent a whole bag.
Right.
Whole bag of stuff together. Yeah, mine did too. I apologize for everybody watching at home. I've been buffering a little bit, so thank you for bearing with me here. I put a whole bunch of stuff together and I made a 3-man unit. And the first one was for Brian. I took a scrap iron head, painted it, sculpted, tattoos, the whole 9. And I sent it to him for his birthday, because every year for his birthday, I make him or get him something, or I make him something. Like, thank you for being so awesome. Here's something dope for your collection. And then my buddy Jamie and his wife were like, dude, you do a really nice job. We would like, if you ever find time, we'll, send it to me, fucker. I'm like, okay, cool. Your birthday's the next month. Guess what? Surprise, you were getting one too. So like 1, 2, and then I get to the third one, which was kind of a cast off for the other 2. And he's right here above my finger behind me. Now I realize I got to remake the other 2 because I want all 3 together because they turned out really good. Like, it's awesome. I love this hobby. I love how something can come from nothing, and you're just piecing shit together. When it's random, sometimes they turn out to be the best. So
I agree.
Next part, I think we've covered all the other stuff. Let's get into YouTubing, toy tubing, if you will. You have a couple of different hats when it comes to YouTubing. I know you more so from Workbench Warfare, where you break down and you show tips and tricks and steps and the customizing do's and don'ts. I've used quite a few of those steps. What prompted you to do that? What prompted you to launch into that foyer of YouTube?
It was a conglomeration of basically kind of getting away from my old negative outlook of social media, which came from, getting out of law enforcement. You're very highly judged for your personal life when you're in law enforcement. There's that whole, like, you're held to a higher standard. And, so you tend to just avoid things to stay out of the limelight. Plus, you don't want personal things out there. And I got back into it just saying, basically, it's going to be toy-oriented only. And when I was coming up learning things, I had to learn a lot of things the hard way. And I only picked up tips and tricks sometimes by accident, or asking many people and only one of them would answer, or watching them and reverse engineering it. And I told you there was a lot of gatekeeping, and I didn't like that. And I thought, I'm going to give something back and take maybe 6 weeks of struggle away from someone else and say, hey, here's how you do this. If you want to paint a baklava head, put some putty over the eyes and spray paint that thing and then peel it off. And I did one the other day, and then perfect, versus trying to, oh shit, I got it on the eyeball. Let me get or cutting yourself repeatedly, or not knowing you should change your blade for every new project. You think that X-Acto blade is going to stay sharp for 60 days or something. And like I said, I'm still learning things. I tell people, tell me your secrets too. When I got a Dremel tool, that changed my whole life. And I thought I had one, and apparently I did the whole thing where you loan it to a friend and it never comes back. And I was like, I'm just going to go buy one, and I got this kit, and there you go. Yeah. And I was actually telling Dookie the other day, so I showed him a beard I sculpted on a new dreadnought. He's in development, and he's like, I got to start sculpting. And I was like, yeah, well, I said, let me send you a picture of the green stuff. And I said, let me send you a picture of the 3 tools that I have. Yep. And I said, you're gonna say these tools look like the tools we use to clean rifles, like the dental picks. And he's like, yeah, that's the first thing I thought of. I said, but they're not. I said, they have wider blades on one end and pin blades on the other. I said, and they help a lot. And I said, if you get into it, I'll tell you more. But I didn't get that a lot. I like I said, I had to watch somebody be like, okay, how do I freeze frame? What's that tool? And that's why I go into everything, like where to get something, or problems I've run into, mistakes. I've got another Workbench Warfare where I'm going to be cooking up, and I'm going to do something basically the first time ever. So I'm not preparing this. I'm going to be putting, from Bad Mother Tattoos, I'm going to be putting cloth patches on a cloth soft goods jacket. And I have the glue that's supposed to be for cloth and plastic. So we're going to see how this goes. And Lady Spartan knows this sound. If I go, and that means like I either just drop something or mess something up bad, or I'm mad about it. She'll be like, "Oh, what's going on?" Because she usually is doing her work facing away from me, and I'm like, "It's not going good." She always tells me like, "Take a break from it." I'm like, "No, I'm going to push through." But yeah, so I started the YouTube with Workbench Warfare. Also like to be on and commentate with other people because that's just something I've never been afraid to speak to a crowd or a person one-on-one. Law enforcement really took me out of my comfort zone and put me around a lot of different types of people and cultures that I wasn't with, and you just have to adapt. And once I did that, it helped me with leadership. It helped me with social communication, and you know this. I mean, you're pretty extroverted, but I think there are a lot of people in our hobby who are very much introverts, and they were probably like that young, and some of them didn't grow out of it. So some of them I come across a little bit like, "Hey, how are you?" And they're like, I'm good, like, "Why are you so friendly?" And I'm like, "I don't know, like I ate a lot of sugar today.
I it's a huge step putting yourself out there on the internet, and of course, everybody's a little more used to it with social media being what it is. I mentioned this previously. This is not the face of a brand. I never wanted to be the guy in front of the camera, but I realized that I fucking love talking to people. I enjoy having conversations about toys, about life in general. And as you mentioned, there can be a lot of gatekeeping at times. If I had to learn something, which again I learned by a lot of failures, I'm happy to share my experiences, what went well, what didn't, what I was thinking in the process. So I like that dialogue. I think it's fantastic. Savage was one of the first people that I witnessed do some of this stuff. So I started like bugging. Like that's how I met him. Like I watched one of his videos or one of his live streams, and he was talking about having, I think it was the weapons pack from like the October Guard or the Twilight Guard, excuse me. And he's like, "I'm not using this shit. Like, fuck it. You toss it in the garbage. Like, if you want it, say, hey, I could use more guns, brother." And that's how we started chatting. And then from there, it was like, I did this custom and this is how this went. And like, he would give feedback, which I greatly appreciate because I respect his opinion. Same thing with Lonzo. Does incredible work. Like, oh my God, incredible. He was sharing with some of the stuff he was doing before he went to DFW. Amazing work. Dookie, like everybody is so open and so willing to talk and conversate. And I think that's one of the best things about this community. All of them at some point stated that they never thought that they would be doing the camera stuff in front of the camera, that they themselves were shy or hesitant at first. And then you start talking to them and realize that there's nothing shy about these motherfuckers. Their personalities are bigger than life. It's like they were built to do this. And I think it's awesome. I think that once you do that initial step, you put yourself out there, your audience is going to find you. Sink or swim, people who appreciate it will be there.
And you said this to me before, so I'll kind of regurgitate, but you cannot meet and get out in the community without using the social media. And it has allowed me on Instagram, even Facebook, and then YouTube to meet people and have a conversation with Lonzo where like he was like, "I really like your work." And I was like, "Oh, well, thank you." That was like, that'd be like Tom Cruise telling me like I fly a plane well. I was like, "Awesome, man, thank you." You fly a plane well too. And him and I were talking about maybe like exchanging a figure, which I've done with some people, and you and I need to do that where like we build something for each other. And I've done it where like what the person's building, and I've done one where both people like do some kind of a surprise project. And what I want to do is like have all those ones where I can display my shelf of just figures I got from other cool dudes. Like I'm not going to modify these, I'm not selling these. They are like my special guys, just not like I didn't buy them, I didn't find them, I didn't make them.
You're adding yourself to the list, brother. Like I've got a set of cats that I'm already in the works and finalizing a few for, and if you are game, I will fucking do this thing, brother. I have no problem doing that. It's one of my favorite parts. Like I love customizing, and as I mentioned previously, both in our last session and with other people that I've spoken to, I sit back here and I look around my room, and I have amazing figures, and not bragging. I love figures. And when I look at it, I see my buddy Brian. I see my buddy Jamie. I see Turk Murphy. I see Savage because I got some of his weapons on my fucking shelf. Like I see everybody who's contributed in some way, shape, or form, or Savage because he did an awesome kit and I copied it. So I have my version of his figure on my shelf. Like that is awesome. Like I love those moments. And then of course to what you mentioned, when somebody says they appreciate your work, like the first time I had somebody who I respect and somebody whose work I enjoy tell me via message, like, dude, your figure is awesome. Like, that is really good. Like, I'm just like giddy, man. Like school, like a school girl. Like Christmas morning, like I'm just on a whole nother high because like I think it's awesome, but you know, somebody else might.
But we are critical of our own work. So, and you had told me this last time that you will do like me and continually go through and try to like think of revisions and do I have to put something there and cover when it was probably fine like 2 revisions ago to everybody else's eye. And I think that's probably like the action figure version of dysmorphia. You know, like everybody looking at themselves in the mirror, I think they could be better even if they're super healthy. But like it's like I don't know, like maybe I don't know if that strap is right. And it's like, man, nobody's looking at that one little strap. They're looking at the totality of the figure. And yeah, so I'll tell you a funny little thing is like how I actually got a hold of Dookie the first time was through Savage because him and I were communicating because I could contact him through his media, and I was like, you know, give Dookie my number, tell him to hit me up because I wanted to ask him a couple of things. And you know, I said we're both military. I said let him know I'm legit, and Savage did. So he kind of brokered that, you know, so meeting people through other people, and that's why I kind of do what I do too, or like with you, where I was like, let me send somebody extra stuff with a figure or a bag of stuff, or run these giveaways because honestly, yes, I sell the customs. It helps fuel me to build more customs. It helps fuel me to build figures I want, but it's not how I'm going to like make a living or retire. I don't look at it like that. It's never going to be a thing where I like tell somebody like, well, I made that figure, so I'm upset that you made that figure. A lot of times I would try to get online and put out like 3 to 5 positive comments that day just to pump other people up and be like, hey, that looks real. Like it's really easy to hit the like button. I do that too, but sometimes I want to be the one comment on that person saying, I go, hey, that looks awesome, or I'll give them like the hands or the fire or the, you know, and I can tell, like you said, that elates them. Like I'm going to keep pushing, you know, because 2 years ago I didn't have that. I wasn't on social media, so it was just me like figuring it out and being like, this kind of sucks. Next, you know.
Yeah, no,
I
beat myself up a lot. I think we all do this. I beat myself up a lot when I put it together, and I'm like, is this really awesome? Is this really what I want to do? And what you have up here doesn't always translate to what you're doing physically with the figure or the diorama or whatever the build is. So I have friends who I bounce ideas off, and after talking to them both in my own immediate circle and then of course the sphere that is the action figure toy tuber community, I know when they respond certain ways, this is really what they're saying. They're being supportive, but sometimes you get it's just supportive, and other times like they really mean it, like they're blown away by and I'm not so critical, and I'm getting better about myself in that regard because again, you're putting yourself out there to be judged to an extent.
Right.
I think overall though, I'd say it's like 98% positive in my experience. There are assholes, as there are in all walks of life. There are those that are more prone to tear down than build up. We're all going to experience that. I try to be as positive as I can. Like I appreciate the effort like you're doing with everything you're doing, and then of course what other collectors are doing. If you're putting yourself out there and you're constantly trying, you're constantly growing, that's a win for both you on a personal level and as the community as a whole. It's easier to tear somebody down and be negative. It's harder to be positive and supportive. But if you're positive and supportive, it's like rising tide. It raises all ships, and we all win.
Right.
Sorry, that's my spin on that. I don't mean to rant. So we are, like last time, we're fucking approaching the hour mark super quick. For the audience, for the people tuning in and made it this far, share with them what they can find, both your stuff for the YouTube, your social medias, and where they can find you at Toy Fest or Joe Fest in Atlanta.
All right, so starting with the last one first, at Joe Fest in Augusta, we are going to be upstairs. I think don't remember the table number. We will be blasting it to everybody like we did our little announcement that we were going, and I have the cool AI versions of myself and Lady Spartan, but we actually are going to be in those costumes. So like Lady Spartan is actually going to be dressed as CoverGirl. So when all you guys are out front waiting to get in at like 4 o'clock because you're not getting until 5, but you want to get in the line. I did it last year. I'm not judging. I was an early bird. I was like, come on, we got to get in the line. Her and I will be actually working that line, handing out cards and stickers, and we will be running a raffle where you come upstairs, you buy a raffle ticket. You have to buy a raffle ticket. It's $1. You get a chance to win either a customized Dreadnought Reaper vehicle with Xandar customized as the driver. Hate to let it go, but I don't really have room for it. And one of you lucky people is going to get it.
It looks good. It looks really good, guys.
The interior is as cool as the exterior. I wanted to customize so when you pop that hood open, or excuse me, the hatch open, you're gonna be like, whoa, okay, he did some stuff inside too. It's got special Cobra mounted weapon systems on it. It's a beast, and it can rival the Thunder Machine, and it's way more armored, so it can blast right through a wall if it needs to. The second prize is going to be one of the boxed Zartans for one of you unfortunate souls who did not get one today. They are disappearing quick, and someone might want another one. I know I have an extra one. I actually have an extra one for the raffle. And then third prize is going to be a Battle Android Trooper from Super 7. And what I like about those is a Battle Android Trooper can be bigger than your other Joes because he's a robot. So you can actually incorporate that into your play, and it's kind of a cool figure. I have one that's loose, but this one is brand new boxed, battle damage, rifle. Looks just like the cartoon version. So the first night we're going to be at Joe Fest. I'll be dressed as Clutch because I'm Uncle Clutch, so I'll have the shoulder holster, the whole 9 yards. And CoverGirl will be outdoing me, of course, with her little leather jacket and her, drop leg holster and her Pitts Garage hat and big hair. And then the next day we're actually going to both be dressed as Dreadnoughts, and we have full Dreadnought attire. We will change our look facially, and we're going to be definitely knocking it up for Saturday all day, working the floor, working the table, and of course we'll be getting together with everybody on Friday and Saturday evening as much as we can and still be operational the next day. We will be right next to Top Fun Retro 3D Toys. John, he will be dressed as kind of a Magnum PI goofy version of Thomas Magnum. You can't miss him. He makes great weapons there. I saw his display for DFW, and his table was on point. He's got a picture with Hama at his table, so if Hama's going to come over and rep him, it's going to be good. On YouTube, it is Lady Spartan Customs is the channel. It's still a very small channel. We've got under 50 subscribers, but we're growing. We did just do a video where I quizzed Lady Spartan on the characters from Predator right after we had date night last night, and she wanted to say she had a cocktail, but it was only one. So she got a few right. So you have to decide where you come down with for. I'm going to say most of your wives and girlfriends probably don't know any of the characters of Predator. So I think she did pretty damn good because she's probably seen it about 50 times in the background while she's doing something else. So we also had her sit in on my Zartan unboxing, which I actually had her read Ninja Zartan's background and asked her what she thought of the 93 figure. And she's very candid sometimes. She'll just, as they say, she'll just say some shit. And it's hilarious. It makes me laugh out loud with what she says, and she's a great partner in this. And on Instagram it's uncle_clutch_73, and then on Facebook it's Matt Harris, but it's got the logo that I will pull up unless you can get to it quicker than me. You can. Yes. So that's going to be my profile picture on Facebook. So that's obviously me with the weapon outboard, and that's Lady Spartan in the Spartan armor pointing away from me. I was really happy with how that logo came out. And we're definitely going to be at the Joe Fest show. Not sure what else we'll be doing after that. More Workbench Warfare will be coming. We're working on finishing that figure that we're converting from version 1 gung-ho to a full-fledged Dreadnought. I'm thinking it's coming along pretty good because I can see where we're at right now. A lot of figures are going to be sold at Joe Fest or for sale at Joe Fest, but there's already about 25 ideas on the books for afterwards. But I had to take a forced hiatus from building so I can concentrate on getting ready for the show. I prefer building to the business part of it, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So, but there will be some Thrasher action. I'm going to build a Zanzibar. I already have the head. For some of the wider range dreadnoughts, we'll have a Demolisher, a Chaos, and a Burnout coming. So some of the ones that are actually known. We'll be creating some new ones. There's a female mechanic coming. Kind of teased just a silhouette of her. Not as hot girl summer as Heart Wrencher. Kind of more of a, if you come near me, I'm going to hit you with this wrench kind of feel. So, but she's going to look cool, and she's going to rock the overalls better than anybody I've seen. So again, that was one of those things where I grabbed the figures, and I actually gave one to my friend Todd, and the other one I was like, I got a plan for this one. So yeah, a lot of good ideas in the hopper. Dabbling with some drones, and working on my own little personal project of a mercenary unit similar to what you were talking about. Mine's called Black Warrant. Black seems to be very popular. I wish I had gone with something different now, because a lot of people are going with that, but I already have my labels are already made through Bad Mother Customs, and if you guys reach out to me or to NorCal, I will have him pass on my discount code to Bad Mother Tattoos. They are a sponsor of Lady Spartan Customs, and you can get 10% using my discount code, and that helps if you're going to buy a lot of overlays, because he's got great stuff.
Yes, and they designed my custom Dreadnoughts logo, or put them in the water slides that I put on some of my. And I've got another
Same
set.
For mine.
I'm working on another figure that I got to slap a logo across the chest for. He is a toy tuber. He doesn't know about this yet, but it'll be arriving here shortly once it get completed. Reach out if you guys want some discounts, folks. That's all we're saying. They're beautiful work. Beautiful work.
And I want people to reach out to me too if they just have an idea they either want questions answered on, or they want to bounce off me. I really like when someone gives me a background story on something they came up with. NorCal's figures that he came up with for Louisiana, I always enjoy seeing the background he puts them in. I enlarged them and shown them to Lady Spartan, and she's even said she wants to know how you made the shirt on the guy, the half shirt. So you can tell me offline or whatever, but she is interested enough to say, how did he do that, and where did that come from? So as much as she doesn't think she's in it, she's in it.
Say tomorrow, because I've got a whole lot of nothing on the books being retired. I will do a video and I will send it to you, and I will break down how I did everything, where I found the parts, and that way she can do it as well. Speaking of Lynn, she reached out, she saw one of the photos that I did, and she zeroed in on two background guys I had in suits, and she's like, who is that guy? Who is the guy next to it? How did you make them? Where did they get their name? What are they? I have to know. I'm like, okay, damn, that's Hector Ramirez, and then that's just a no-name lawyer that I haven't finished yet, but I needed a suited body. They're both unique, but they have their place in both G.I. Joe and then, of course, in my toy box. I love getting questions like that. I like it when people ask, even if it's something superficial, not important, or they want to go deep dive. I'm an open book. If somebody wants to know something, you can ask anything, anytime. I am always available to talk shop, so to speak. And my brain is available for picking. No gatekeeping whatsoever on anything I've seen or done, or if I can help in any way, shape, or form, ask away.
And I like to share backgrounds on things. Like I told you, I was building the mercenary unit. So since it's a unit of mercenaries, they don't have code names, they have nicknames. And I told you this when we last talked. You get a nickname in the military or any kind of unit, it's not flattering. My favorite one I came up with was not an AI creation. I had a female who is a tech and commo specialist for my merc unit, and her name was it was Kiera Kincaid, and she told the men in the unit, do not call me Kiki, I won't respond to it. And they found out that her family owned a large juice, kind of like apple juice and things like that, and she was an heiress to a juice fortune, so they started calling her Juice Box. And when you tell someone, don't call me this, you're gonna get called something else that you probably don't want. So looking back, she probably wished Kiki was her nickname, because they call her Juice Box, and people are like, why is your female called Juice Box? And it has nothing to do with her computer skills or her looks or anything like that, and So, but no, also too, I know that Lady Spartan does reach out and talk to people in the community. I love that she does. They communicate with her. I don't know that there's many females out there that are interested, but if you are, she would love to hear from you at Joe Fest or, online. I think that would be a tickle for her. She ran into a few people last year at Joe Fest that wanted their picture with her. She ran into a young cover girl dressed up. One of the workers took a picture with her and said, "Oh, I really like that you're dressed up." I had to explain to her that a lot of guys in our community are shy and they may admire from afar and they're not going to come up talk unless she does it. Like you're dressed like the version of their youth, So, but I think if there's any females out there and you're kind of on the fringe of like knowing this stuff, or you've heard your boyfriend or husband talk about it, she'd probably love to converse with you because she's definitely been, as the Borg would say, she's been assimilated.
Dude, that's awesome.
Casey and Max are happy I use that Star Trek reference if you guys are watching. So,
all right, we are over the hour mark, brother. Matt, man, I appreciate you sitting down both times to do this. For the people that are watching, if you guys are not subscribed or following anything that Clutch is doing, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you're missing out. You're going to learn something educational. You're going to see something that's really cool. And if you get a chance to just pick his brain, you're not going to be disappointed. I want to thank you, brother. Thank Lynn for letting me borrow you for an hour. I appreciate both of y'all. And for the audience, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe if you're not already to both us here at NorCal Voodoo Toy Box and, of course, Uncle Clutch at his locations as well. You guys all have a wonderful night. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch you guys on the next time.
Yes, see you all at Joe Fest, hopefully. Don't be afraid to come up and say hello and tell me your online name. And definitely we're going to take lots of pictures and have lots of laughs.
Right.
Thanks again for having me, man.
Absolutely, brother.